We all know Canon RF glass can get really expensive, but if you are willing to spend around $1,000, well then right now I think that the options are better than ever, and there are some truly amazing lenses in this kind of price range, especially if you're willing to buy used. So whether you're shooting video, portrait, street or weddings, here are the best RF lenses at around about $1,000 that are 100% worth it in 2025. And first up, we have the Canon RF 24-105 f4 zoom lens. And this lens is a versatility champion. I have taken this lens everywhere from mountain hikes to city streets, and it just handles whatever you throw at it. And it's surprisingly lightweight with blazing fast autofocus and really good built-in image stabilization as well for those steady shots. And what makes the 24-105 so special, in my opinion, is its range, because its range is incredible. At 24mm at the wide end, you can capture those sweeping landscapes, and at 105mm, you can zoom in on distant details without having to switch lenses. And that's why I think it's perfect for travel, whenever you need to pack light but at the same time be ready for anything. But it's also really great for capturing subjects within a scene. It offers just enough background separation to make your subject pop a little bit off the background without overdoing it. And if you zoom past 70mm, then it's surprisingly good for portraits as well, and you actually get quite a bit of subject isolation at that point. I think it's a very underrated portrait lens. And in my experience, this zoom lens is sharp throughout the range. And when I have compared it to my much more expensive RF 24-70, shot for shot, the differences in background blur and rendering in portraits generally isn't huge, and I also find that they perform very close in terms of sharpness as well. But what is the downside? Well, it's got to be that max f4 aperture, I suppose, because in lower light situations you may find yourself wishing you had a slightly wider aperture. In terms of price, many people will get this 24-105 as a kit lens and then sell it off in like new condition. So these are easy to pick up used, and in the US I could seem to find it around about $900, and in the UK if you look on eBay and places like that, then they are selling for about £800 to £900. I definitely think this is a lens that you shouldn't buy new, because there's just so many good examples on the used market. Alright, next up we've got one of my favourite lenses at any price range on RF mount. It's the Canon RF 70-200 f4. And this lens is just simply incredible. It is small, it's lightweight, and the overall performance from this lens is just amazing. Optically, the lens is outstanding. You're going to get tack sharp images with beautiful contrast and rich colours throughout the entire zoom range. And the image stabilization keeps everything steady even when you're shooting at say 200mm. And autofocus is lightning fast, possibly the quickest that I've ever used on RF mount. And of course, that zoom range is incredibly useful for a whole range of use cases. I personally love this lens for travel photography, but it's going to be great for events, sports, and of course, portraits as well. It's just really nice to take this lens on trips and capture distant subjects, whether that be the local wildlife or just the scenery. And at 200mm, you can create this gorgeous compression effect that makes backgrounds feel closer and gives landscapes this larger than life quality that's just impossible to achieve with wider lenses. And at these longer focal lengths, f4 gives you plenty of subject separation in my opinion. I did a side-by-side comparison with my much pricier 70-200 2.8, and honestly, in most real-world scenarios, it is pretty tough to spot the difference between 2.8 and f4 in a zoom lens like this. And in general, I was really impressed with how well the f4 version kept up with the 2.8 version in sharpness and overall look and rendering. I actually sold my 2.8 zoom in favor of this f4 version, so I'm probably going to cover that decision, why I came to that decision, in a video coming up really soon. Downsides. Well, honestly, it is hard to come up with any downside with this lens at all. But I guess, again, it's that max f4 aperture. Might not be enough for some people in low light situations. Price wise, in the US, I think you can generally get these for just over $1,000 used. It seems to be, from what I can see, one of the rare occasions where you might get this lens slightly cheaper in the UK, because I got mine on eBay for under £1,000. Alright, this next lens might be one of the best things that Canon's released in years. It is the RF 2870 f2.8 STM lens. And I am honestly, you probably know by now, in love with this lens. It's lightweight, it's compact, and it has a fast 2.8 aperture, all in a super versatile zoom range. And I think it punches way above its weight class in terms of sharpness, and easily holds its own against much more expensive lenses in all of my tests. And thanks to that retractable design, it packs down really small, making it an ideal option for traveling. And that 2870 range covers so much. You get wide shots, it's great for environmental portraits, and even tighter shots if you want a little bit of background compression. It has been a great all-around lens for capturing my travels. I've just loved using it. But I actually think it's the rendering that just continues to surprise me with this lens, because images have character and depth. It doesn't have that flat or clinical look that you might generally expect from a more affordable zoom lens like this. But of course, it's not just great for travel, it's a great lens for weddings, events, sports, and more. And autofocus has been excellent with this lens, even with that STM motor. And it's also got built-in image stabilization, which again makes it really solid for handheld video as well. This is a real do-it-all lens with great image quality and fantastic handling, and at this price, it is very hard to beat. Honestly, I think that right now one of the trickiest decisions for Canon shooters is whether to go for this lens or the RF 24-105 f4. So if you'd like a dedicated video comparing those two in depth, let me know in the comments. Downside. The only downside I can think of is that retractable design. I don't mind it. I'm completely used to it. In fact, I see some benefits to it now, but I can see that some people might find that a bit of an annoying feature. Price-wise, you can get a great deal on this lens right now, occasionally getting it brand new for just over $1,000. And right now, actually, this is on sale over in the UK, brand new for around £1,100 on Wex. So right now, there seem to be some great deals on this lens, and more on the used market than ever. Before we move on to the next lens, I'm just going to let you know that this video is sponsored by Squarespace. And if you're a photographer, I think having a professional website is an essential. And with Squarespace, it's very simple. There's no coding, no design headaches. It's all just intuitive drag and drop tools that can help you build a great site in no time. And Squarespace also now has a bunch of incredible AI tools like Design Intelligence that can make the process quicker and easier than ever. Show off your portfolio with customizable photo galleries that are designed to make your work shine. And if you've got something to sell, whether it's physical or digital, Squarespace has all the tools you need to build an incredible shopfront and get selling fast. If you're ready to get started, head on over to squarespace.com/JamesReader and use code JamesReader for 10% off your first domain or website. All right, next up, we've got two lenses sharing a spot because honestly, I can't decide between them. We've got the RF 14-35 f4 and the RF 16-28 f2.8. So let's start with the 14-35. In my opinion, this is one of the best zooms on RF mount. It is small, lightweight, very, very well built, and it's absolutely brilliant for landscape photography. 14mm is insanely wide to have in a zoom lens like this, and it captures huge expansive vistas, shots that really pull you into the scene. And then, of course, at the other end, you've got 35mm, which is a really nice natural field of view that's great for everything from street photography to environmental portraits. And it's also a really great option for video. It's lightweight, easy to handle, and it would be great as a gimbal lens. I compared this lens directly with my 15-35 2.8 and a bunch of EF wide angle zoom lens options. And in most cases, this 14-35 was either just as sharp or the sharpest of the bunch. Now, the 16-28 2.8, it shares a lot of those same strengths. It's compact, it's light, very easy to pack, but it gives you a faster aperture, which is great for low light and a little bit more background separation when you want it. This lens is super sharp and the rendering is really pleasing. The trade-off, of course, is the shorter zoom range, but I think 16mm is still plenty wide for the majority of landscape work most people are going to do, and 28mm is still a very usable focal length. And if you really do want 35mm, you can always just crop in a little bit to get that. This lens has been my go-to for video and vlogging over the past couple of months, so much so that I actually sold off my RF 15-35 2.8, and I am very happy I did that. I love this lens. But which should you choose? Maybe this is another video I need to put together, but I think it really comes down to what matters more to you. Is it that range or is it light gathering? So landscape shooters, I think they'll probably prefer the 14-35 for that extra reach, while videographers, vloggers, or travel photographers like me might lean more towards the 16-28 for a bit of extra depth of field and light from that fast 2.8 aperture. Downsides: both of these lenses rely pretty heavily on lens corrections, especially at the wide end. But I think the final results look great on both, but that is worth considering. Price-wise, the 14-35 is over $1,000 new, but you can pick them up for around the $1,000 mark used. And the 16-28, it's a recent release, so I'm kind of bargaining on the fact that if we give it a bit of time, in a couple of months, you're going to pick this up as well for the similar sort of price. Next up, we've got the budget super telephoto, the RF 100-400 f5.6 to f8 lens. And this is a bit of a recent acquisition for me, and this lens surprised me. A lot of you guys constantly recommended I pick up this lens, and I'm really glad that I did. It's compact, lightweight, and seriously affordable for a lens that gets you all the way to 400mm, and it is a really seriously fun lens to use. That reach is incredible for wildlife, sports, air shows, or just picking out little details in a scene that you'd never get with a standard zoom. And while the variable aperture might seem like a downside, well, Canon's modern sensors and the excellent image stabilization in this lens make it way more usable than you might expect, even in lower light situations. The autofocus is really fast and accurate as well. It is great for moving subjects or tracking wildlife. And while of course it is far from a traditional portrait lens, you can always use this lens for some nice compression and background separation when you zoom in, especially for, say, candid or environmental portraits from a distance. It's honestly one of the best value lenses in the RF system, and a great way to add some serious reach to your kit without breaking the bank. The main downside is the f8 max aperture at the long end. That's gonna really limit your ability to separate your subject from the background for things like wildlife. If you're gonna be getting shots of birds in busy trees, you're not gonna get creamy bokeh or particularly amazing low light performance with this lens. You'd need a fast telephoto lens at that point. But for the price, portability, and the reach that you get, I think it's a trade-off that a lot of people will be totally happy with. Price-wise, this one's easy because you can pick this up brand new for around $650 in the US and closer to $500 used. And here in the UK, it's brand new around £600. So that is it. Those are my picks for around the $1,000 mark. And honestly, there are some real gems at this price point, and with how well some of these zoom lenses are performing at this kind of price point, it is getting harder and harder to justify spending much more. In a lot of cases, it really is diminishing returns with some of these super expensive lenses, which is why I've sold off my 15-35 and I've sold off my 70-200 2.8, because these cheaper zooms are just so good, and in a lot of cases, a lot more practical as well. But anyway, let me know what you guys think of my list, or if you've got any favorites around this price point. I would love to hear your guys' recommendations. Also, there's a couple of links in the description to any more in-depth videos that I've dedicated to any of the lenses on this list if you want to dive a little bit deeper. But anyway, that is it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.